Pig, iron, pig iron. Today's part 2 of a steel making series and we're getting into the good quality stuff. Last time, what we had on our hands was pig iron. That's what you get when you pass the iron ore into the blast furnace. But today, we're going to see how we're going to turn that into proper steel. So here's the problem. In part 1, we started with a mix of iron and oxygen, and we made the oxygen react with the carbon, so we will just have the iron left behind. The problem is, in order to make sure that we get rid of all of the oxygen, we always end up with a bit too much carbon. So now we have iron and a bit too much carbon left over. And you'll never guess what the next step is. Come on, guess. That's right, we take the big iron and we re-inject oxygen into the mix so that it would react with the carbon so we can get rid of it. It's ridiculous, I know. We're basically doing the reverse process of what we're doing in a blast furnace. The key difference, however, is that this is a much more controlled process. We know exactly how much oxygen to add, and we can actually kind of, hit the right amount of carbon that we want to keep in the final mix. This is also the stage where we can get rid of other impurities by adding the oxygen, like sulfur and phosphorus. So how do we do that exactly? Well, over the last 200 years or so, there have been a bunch of different processes that have been developed, but they all follow the same basic principles of just blasting air or pure oxygen into molten pig iron to refine it. Some of the processes are faster, some of them allow for larger batches, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm just going to do some really quick introductions. In the 1850s, we have the Bessemer process. That's the OG. In the late 1800s, we have the Siemens-Martin process. And if you're wondering, this Siemens is the brother of the other Siemens guy, the main Siemens guy who created the company Siemens. In the 1950s, we have BOF, Basic Oxygen Furnace. And it's basic in the chemical sense, not because it's like simple. And throughout the 20th century, we had the Electric Arc Furnace, EAF, that was originally developed for other metals but started being used for iron after World War II, basically. This one is particularly interesting to us because it allows us to use scrap metal. And today we basically use mostly BOF or EAF, or a combination thereof. But no matter which one of the above you've been using, congratulations, you now have proper steel. Yay! But remember how in part 1 we said that the carbon and the oxygen reacting together meant that a lot of carbon dioxide was being created? But of course, here we're still making oxygen react with carbon, so this is the same chemical reaction we're exploiting, and that's even more carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere. So please stick around for part 3, where we're going to start discussing alternatives that can help us improve this industry.